So yesterday, friends, we got the introduction to the Eucharist. Today we have an introduction to reconciliation. Happy Thursday. I'm glad to see you. Chapter 21 in the Gospel of John. We have a conversation now after the fast was broken. The Eucharist, the sacred meal where we come back into relationship with God, is instituted by Jesus himself with the bread and with the fish. And then he has a conversation with Peter, upon whom he is to build his church for a period of time. It's fascinating. Remember the problem they had, of course, outside Caiaphas's house, where the beloved disciple Lazarus went in. Peter stayed out. He denied Jesus, denied his relationship with Jesus. And now we're having the reconciliation of that. Here it is, verse 15. When they had finished breakfast, breaking the fast, Jesus says to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these, more than the food, more than the water, more than the fish, more than the other disciples?" And Peter says to Jesus, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." A second time, Jesus says to Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Tend my sheep. Feed them, tend them." Verse 17. Jesus says to Peter a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Peter felt hurt because he said to him the third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to Jesus, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." And Jesus says to him, "Feed my sheep." Right, so this is the injunction, right? All of us are beloved children of God. All of us are sheep to be tended and to be fed, right, with the holy food. That's the priority, the holy food. Feed them, and tend them, but feed them. Feed them the word, right? Feed them the bread of life. Then Jesus says, verse 18, and this is prophetic. "Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you used to fasten your own belt and go wherever you wished." And that's true for the church, isn't it? Right? The church went all over the world with power and energy, maybe too much power, and a little too much energy and enthusiasm, getting confused between the role as a spiritual house, a center where we feed God's people, and a force of dominance. That's youth. You went where you wished, but when you grow old, you stretched out your hand, and someone else will fasten a belt around you and take you where you wish to go. He said this to indicate the kind of death that Peter would have to glorify God. And then he said to him, "Follow me." And so we have Peter, upon whom the church is built. In youth and vigor, the church creates a great structure that becomes really, really important to understanding Jesus, sustaining the Christian spiritual life, right? The church opens up as three really important roles: as a spiritual gym, as a place of learning where we understand the structure of the kingdom of God, and as a community, a place where we gather to know each other as spiritual friends, but as practical friends in the world. So that's what the church developed as, and it developed a hierarchy with Peter and the bishops of Rome at the top, and then it's spreading out all over the world, and that's been such a good thing. People often cite the bad things that the church has done, and I think that is a fair reflection, but the reality is that is a small remembrance of all of the great things that happen in the life of a neighborhood parish all over the world for 2,000 years, like in our parish here at Epiphany. And so there's a reconciliation that happens. 3 times Peter denies Jesus outside the high priest's house. 3 times he re-enters, right? He wipes that away, and Jesus allows that to happen. We always have the opportunity to re-enter relationship with Jesus Christ, right? And then in our youth, we take that out. In our old age, sometimes we're led around. And it may be true that over the last couple hundred years, the church has been led around, right? Chasing that which it thinks is relevant in the world. We see it all the time. right? If you look at some of the ways the Bible has been studied, where it is pulled apart, right? It is deconstructed. It is a reductionist view of the Bible, right? That is a reflection of what science was doing in the world, right? The church was led by what the world was doing. Sometimes we see that in how the church reaches out in articulating a political point of view. It's following the world as opposed to owning its position. And so Jesus articulates the strength and also prophesies as to what's going to happen to the church. And I think a lot of it has happened. But then we get to the very last couple of sentences, the last 5 verses, 20 through 25, when we see a revelation as to what's going to happen. I think it's going to happen now. And that's the precipice that we are sitting upon. So we'll talk about that tomorrow as a way of wrapping up our study of the Gospel of John. I've loved being with you these 129, 28 sessions. It's been an extraordinary blessing. I hope they're helpful to you in the future. I hope you share them with friends. And I hope you keep reading the Bible. You can always join me Friday mornings. I have a Bible study. We're not in the Gospel of John right now. Or, of course, tune in to what we're doing Sunday morning in our preaching, because we preach the gospel as well. Anyway, I love you. I miss you. I pray for you. Peace upon your souls.